Chapter 4: The Global Mind Experiment. The most famous effort to detect a global consciousness effect began in the late 1990s at Princeton University. Scientists and engineers there started the Global Consciousness Project, GCP, quietly placing dozens of random number generators around the world. These devices normally spit out electronic randomness, the digital equivalent of coin flips, unaffected by everyday events. The idea was simple. If something truly earth-shaking gripped human attention across the globe, would these machines, against all odds, show any unusual patterns? Under normal conditions, random means random. But the team hypothesized that moments of intense collective emotion or focus might ever so slightly perturb the output, like human consciousness acting as a weak force field. For a long time, the data accumulated, with no major blips. Then came Princess Diana's funeral in 1997. Millions worldwide were watching live, sharing a unifying sadness. When researchers later examined the GCP data, they noticed a subtle deviation from randomness during that period. It was as if all those grieving, attentive minds had tugged imperceptibly on the random generators. Skeptics argued over the stats. Was it real or just a fluke? The effect was tiny, to be sure, but it kept appearing around certain global events. New Year's Eve celebrations, for example, produced a gentle drift toward order in the random streams, as if global excitement brought a hint of coherence. Then, on September 11th, 2001, as two skyscrapers fell and billions watched in shock, the instruments registered one of their largest anomalies. The random data became noticeably less random for a brief window of time. The odds of that happening by chance at that exact moment were incredibly remote, according to the Princeton analysts. It was as if the collective horror and attention of the world on 9/11 left a fingerprint on otherwise indifferent machines. In the years following, other tragedies and triumphs, a massive tsunami in 2004, the death of Pope John Paul II, the first moments of global pandemic lockdown in 2020, produced similar, though smaller, effects. Time and again, when millions or billions of people shared a powerful emotion, the randomness wavered. By itself, each instance could be written off, but pattern after pattern began to form. When humanity's hearts and minds beat in unison, the random number graphs would skew, almost like an electrocardiogram, picking up a collective heartbeat. Some remained unconvinced. The anomalies were small, and statistical analysis can be tricky. But the tantalizing suggestion was mind over matter on a planetary scale, consciousness nudging physical devices, however slightly. One GCP researcher poetically said it was like hearing humanity's gasp or cry subtly echo in the noise of the machines. Imagine billions of people around the world, all focused on the same moment. It's like a chorus of thought and feeling. The GCP detectors may have been picking up that chorus, hidden in the static. An analogy often used is this. Normally, The world's consciousness is like a room full of people all talking separately, just a background murmur of noise. But if something unites them in emotion so that they all gasp or chant together, you'd hear a distinct signal. The random devices seem to hear that distinct signal when global events make us align. If true, this has staggering implications. It would mean that when enough people share an emotional state or a focus, reality itself can respond. Perhaps billions of minds in synchrony create a kind of resonance that spills out of our skulls and into the world, nudging the needles of random chance. It's almost as if an emotional field forms, an invisible atmosphere of coherence when we all converge in thought, and that field, ever so slightly, organizes the electrons dancing in those machines. Now think about what this implies beyond those measured events. The project scientists themselves posed a provocative question. What happens when that massive collective focus is directed not at a tragedy or celebration, but at a mystery? If mere emotional alignment can tilt random numbers, could an intense shared belief or fear actually make something manifest? In their report, they specifically wondered, what happens when the world starts looking for monsters? That question sends a shiver down the spine. It's basically asking if our combined observer effect could conjure phenomena into existence. In other words, create cryptids. Before scoffing, consider that we've now seen two threads intertwine. Quantum physics hinting that observation shapes reality, and experimental evidence that mass consciousness can imprint on the physical world. If both are true, even in a limited way, then when people collectively focus on something unreal, we have to wonder if reality might bend toward that idea, just a little, in some form. We're standing at a strange crossroads of science and folklore. The GCP suggests that consciousness can affect machines during world events. History is full of episodes where whole communities claim to see impossible creatures. Is it too big a leap to suspect these might be related? Perhaps when the world, or a town, or a group believes strongly enough in something, the universe yields just enough to let that belief take ghostly form. It's time to leave the lab behind and venture into the field, into the eerie places where people have encountered things that ought not to exist. Armed with the idea that collective focus can influence reality, we can re-examine those encounters in a new light. The next chapters will dive into famous cases of monster sightings, not to prove or debunk them, but to ask, what role might our minds have played? How do mass attention, fear, and expectation weave into these stories? We'll begin with one of the most dramatic examples of a community seemingly summoning a monster, a case where fear itself may have grown wings and red eyes. This has been an excerpt from Quantum Cryptids by Sam Elliott. Check out Elliott's new book, Paranormal Imprints, for an in-depth look into how some ghosts leave a mark on reality. Paranormal Imprints by Sam Elliott is available now